Shock push for UBI. Liberal senators revive controversial free cash proposal. Universal Basic Income, UBI, has resurfaced in Canada's political arena with renewed vigor, driven by Senator Kim Pate, a prominent Liberal-aligned figure appointed by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Her Bill S-206, which proposes a guaranteed livable basic income, promises to reshape how income support is delivered across the nation. The idea of providing Canadians with a fixed, unconditional income has long appealed to those concerned about poverty, inequality, and the future of work, especially amid rapid economic change. However, beneath the hopeful rhetoric lies a tangled web of financial, political, and practical challenges that make this proposal far from straightforward. Senator Pate argues passionately for UBI as a humane and effective way to support marginalized populations and tackle economic insecurity. She draws parallels between her proposal and existing social programs like the Canada Child Benefit and the Guaranteed Income Supplement, suggesting that a universal income could streamline government assistance while improving lives. Pate highlights a parliamentary budget officer's estimate of $3.6 billion annually as the cost of implementing the program, a figure she claims can be offset by abolishing overlapping welfare programs and tax credits. However, this optimistic outlook clashes with much higher cost projections from independent analysts, some of whom estimate the annual price tag at closer to $90 billion, exposing a massive gap in expectations. Critics are quick to point out that even if some current social spending is inefficient, the government's broader fiscal discipline leaves much to be desired. Instances of poorly managed funds, such as billions sent abroad with inadequate oversight, highlight concerns about whether Canada's political leadership can handle a program of this scale responsibly. The question of where the money will come from looms large. Without economic growth or spending cuts elsewhere, the risk of ballooning deficits and rising debt is very real. For a country already grappling with inflation and post-pandemic recovery challenges, introducing a costly new entitlement program without a clear, sustainable funding plan raises alarm bells. The Liberals' argument that UBI could replace complex and fragmented welfare systems has some merit. Pilot programs in Manitoba during the 1970s, as well as more recent trials in Ontario and British Columbia, have shown potential benefits such as reductions in hospital visits and crime rates, lending support to the idea that financial stability improves social outcomes. Yet these pilots were expensive and limited in scope, and scaling them nationally could multiply costs exponentially. While proponents claim UBI won't discourage work, evidence remains mixed. Some data show only slight reductions in labor participation, but the prospect of guaranteed income could influence workforce behavior in ways that are difficult to predict, especially over the long term. Adding to the complexity, Canada's high cost of living, especially in urban centers like Vancouver and Toronto, means a livable income would have to be substantial, potentially around $50,000 annually per person, to truly meet basic needs. When combined with generous immigration policies that facilitate family reunification, the financial burden could grow exponentially. Large immigrant families, possibly with dozens of dependents, might qualify for significant payouts under a UBI system, further inflating costs and sparking debate about fairness and sustainability. This raises critical questions about how eligibility would be determined and managed, and whether regional variations in cost of living would be adequately addressed. Beyond the policy debate, attention has turned to the key figures driving these proposals. Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of Canada and Trudeau's climate envoy, has been implicated in media reports discussing complex financial dealings involving offshore accounts and pension funds. His ties to investment giants such as Brookfield, a major player in renewable energy and infrastructure, have fueled suspicions about conflicts of interest, especially given his influential role in shaping economic and environmental policies. These financial entanglements cast a shadow over the UBI debate, making some Canadians question whether the program serves the public interest or corporate profits. Fiscal conservatives warn that instead of introducing a costly and potentially disruptive program like UBI, Canada should focus on strengthening its economy by cutting taxes, reducing government waste, and investing in productive industries. They argue that lowering income, property, and consumption taxes would ease pressure on Canadians' wallets far more effectively than a blanket cash transfer program. According to this view, boosting sectors like energy and infrastructure will create jobs, increase GDP, and generate the revenue needed for social services, making society more self-reliant rather than dependent on government handouts. In parallel, civil liberties advocates express concern about the growing intersection between social programs and digital technology. Apple's recent introduction of digital ID features, marketed as tools for travel and age verification, raises fears about privacy and government overreach. Many worry that these IDs could become linked to central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, allowing authorities to monitor, control, or even restrict individuals' financial transactions. Such technology could be misused to punish dissent or limit freedoms, adding a dystopian dimension to debates about economic policy and social welfare. The ideological divide over UBI is further deepened by fears that unconditional cash payments could discourage personal responsibility and work ethic, especially in a society already struggling with inflation and rising housing costs. While the appeal of guaranteed income resonates with those concerned about automation and job security, skeptics caution that removing the incentive to work could exacerbate labor shortages and undermine economic growth. Balancing compassion with pragmatism remains a difficult task for policymakers. Moreover, Canada is currently not running budget surpluses, and its economic recovery remains fragile. Introducing a massive new social program risks aggravating fiscal imbalances, particularly if it leads to increased borrowing or inflationary pressures. As public debt levels rise, future generations could bear the consequences of decisions made today, adding an ethical dimension to the fiscal debate. Proponents counter that UBI could simplify the welfare system, reduce poverty, and foster greater social cohesion. They argue that with automation and technological disruption threatening many traditional jobs, guaranteed income is a necessary evolution of the social contract. However, clear plans for funding, implementation, and evaluation are essential to avoid unintended consequences and ensure that the program truly benefits those in need without destabilizing the broader economy.